During a mission in Brazil, Storm and Maggot were ambushed by 4 storm gods. Though outmatched, Storm had one magic trick up her sleeve to tip the scales in her favor, allowing her to escape. Now, as she stands on the eve of Thunder War itself, Thor comes to the aid of his friend and fellow storm god. But nefarious divine forces aren't the only ones gunning for Aurora.
I am Storm, mistress of the elements.
In the damaged skies of Brazil, Aurora Monroe rises, clad in vibranium war armor, face adorned in electrified war paint. She proclaims her power and speaks to the skies, not as an object or a concept, but as a person. The skies have been damaged and hurt by the storm gods, wielding the weather as a weapon instead of a consciousness, something that Aurora will not abide. By her power, she makes the weather whole again. On the ground in Rio de Janeiro, the Avengers look up to clear skies. T'Challa, the Black Panther, Tony Stark, the Iron Man, and Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic himself. T'Challa is nearly without words, taken by the splendor of it all, and intimately knowing the one who is responsible. Tony rips him back down to reality with his usual banter. The two tech marvels quibble amongst themselves, going tit for tat, first regarding technology, and then taking shots with each other's exes. The happily married and never divorced Reed Richards holds back laughter. Maybe one day they'll get it together. Miles away in the Amazon rainforest, Thor and Storm work together to bring an end to this turbulent mission, their winds and lightnings dancing among one another as they gather up the ashes of the destroyed Anaconda and the devoured pilot's body, placing them into a vial, which will be taken to Dr. Voodoo, who will use his necromancy skills to sift out the pilot's remains to send to his family. But the completion of the mission leaves no time for celebration. Thor has seen much in his travels. He has learned about the first storm god. Before Zeus, there was Hadad. He was so mighty that he wove eternity as his cloak, forged death into a war club. The Phoenix Force was his armor, and eternity was his shield. He had grown too strong for anyone to take. Anyone but one. The one above all. But what is death to a being which forges death into a weapon? At some point, his return was inevitable, and though he is still far away, his machinations can be felt even here. The Silver Surfer Soot, herald of Galactus, attacks the rot storm that had devoured the mighty Ravager, and demands that he be spewed from its mouth. This great gathering of rot, decay, and the end of all things can only be leading to one conclusion: a thunder war, as the multitude of storm gods take sides, some seeking to stop Hadad and others serving as his wrath. To what faction do Storm's attackers belong? Ultimately, it matters not, for if they attack Storm again, they will have to deal with the Norse god of thunder. Storm and Thor have tested their collective mettle in battle time and time again. Most recently, she fought in his Thor core against the primordial god Tyrannos, and in these Thunder Wars, she'll likely stand shoulder to shoulder with him again. But at the moment, Aurora plans to stand alone. While grateful for Thor's help, she has every intention of making her attackers beg for help, instead of calling on it herself. And in a flash of lightning, the Weather Witch is gone. Days later, Aurora trains herself rigorously to the point of debilitating sweat and exhaustion, not out of fear of the coming battle against Oblivion, and not in the face of the looming Thunder War, but at the summon of her nation's government. Only something as insidious as bureaucracy could make Aurora Monroe shudder. And for good reason. Whenever mutant oppression, persecution, or destruction is at play, the hand of the government is never too far away. There are indeed forces to which even a goddess must bow, as her ancestral Aunt Ashake once said. And sometimes, those forces wear suits and carry government-issued badges and weapons. And so, Storm takes the proverbial fight to them, dressed in ashen gray business attire. Hair tied up into braids, augmented by extensions, which see her white hair grow silver. Her teleportation comes at the hands of one Eden, aka Manifold, whose conversations with the universe allow him to bend it to his will. Today, that conversation comes in the form of a portal, which Storm exits in Washington, D.C., in front of the J. Edgar Hoover FBI headquarters, a building named after a man not known for his acceptance and tolerance of different people. But whereas Manifold has a bad feeling about this, Storm is optimistic. Should things go south, Manifold is ready to start the second Krakoa age, one not announced by a whisper, but by deafening thunder. Manifold is tasked with keeping the sanctuary safe while Storm is away, a task that might prove too hard for him. In the sanctuary, the Omega Mutant has assembled a large crowd, complete with announcer, as well as 7 other combatants, as he prepares for a tournament made up of some of the world's most powerful beings: Gentle, She-Hulk, Juggernaut, Big Bertha, Strong Guy, Armor, Abomination, and the blue-skinned Zulu Titan of Destruction himself, Maggot. Is this Maggot's peculiar way of passing time? Or is he beefing himself up for the coming battle? Either way, Eden still has a job to do. As Maggot wrestles with restraint, Storm struggles in her own way in Washington, D.C. She sits in an impossibly large room. One might think at a glance that this room was chosen to suit Storm's benefit. Her documented history of claustrophobia is well known. Perhaps the room would even serve to soothe Storm's nerves. As the host of Eternity, her need for open space has never been more pronounced in her life. It's giving Storm all the space that she could ever ask for, but not to comfort her. It's intended to make Aurora feel small, minuscule, inconsequential. So too does Special Agent Fabii, who walks in towering over Storm. The alien agent takes a seat and reminds Storm of her Fifth Amendment rights to remain silent, and she would be wise to choose her words. Saying the wrong thing could land her in a supervillain correctional facility for 5 years. Before the interrogation begins, Fabii takes out an inhalation device, not unlike that of a hookah, attached to a nitrogen canister. He's from a planet that has a more nitrogen-rich atmosphere than Earth's. These aren't tokes of pleasure, they're his breath of life. Storm silently acknowledges this fact, and with that, the interrogation begins. Agent Fabii starts by asking Storm about the emission policies of her sanctuary. She assures the agent that her floating Atlanta home poses no threat to the environment nor the inhabitants of the city. The minds of Tony Stark, Lunella Lafayette, and Shuri have seen to that. The sanctuary emits no greenhouse gases, and its thrusters emit a light identical to the solar rays that rain down onto people, plants, and animals in the form of sunlight. But Fabii is not interested in Storm's environmentalism. He wants to talk about her status as a fugitive. Storm sits silently, staring daggers into Fabii as he needlessly brings up her past as a thief on the streets of Cairo. Events that happened well over 20 years ago. True, she does wear it as a badge of honor. She's not ashamed by her past, but she is also no stranger to having people try to weaponize her past against her. Fabii asked if she's ever faced punishment for these crimes, if she feels the need to submit herself to a working legal system. He sees the hand that Storm's playing and is ready to raise. He asks for a report of her activities over the past 6 weeks. Her Avengers-related missions are filed and reported by the Impossible City, but she has also brought with her a full report of her solo undertakings. He doesn't want to talk about Storm's position as a hero. He's more interested in her status as a victim. He asks if she's been kidnapped over the past 6 weeks. She says she hasn't been. He believes that she may have recently been under the psychic influence of another, and that her memories may have been telepathically altered. Storm tells the agent that she's immune to telepathy, like her friends Gambit and Jubilee, all of whom have latent energy surging through their bodies and brains, making forceful entry into their minds nigh impossible. Fabii wants to test this hypothesis of hers. She gives the towering FBI agent her hand in consent. Fabi directs Aurora to the telepathy simulation machine next door, but Storm has no intentions of leaving this room. She knows this isn't real. Everything that's transpired after he let go of her hand is not reality. Storm stands abruptly, lightning cascading from her eyes and surging around the room. Greater beings than he have tried to force their ways into Storm's mind, and they have failed. But telepathic trickery aren't his only powers. With a fling of his arm, Storm is slammed into the wall, leaving a crater. The alien agent cackles into the nitrogen-filled darkness. Storm has walked right into his trap and admitted that she harbored the fugitive Charles Xavier and assisted his off-world escape of her own free will. In America, his America, there are rules and regulations that one must follow, and those who don't will swiftly be placed under arrest, just like Aurora herself. She stands ready for battle with lightning-clad fists as Fabi draws his service pistol. At her back, 3 equally odd agents stand ready to assist. Storm will answer for her obstruction of justice, but for now, she has the right to remain silent. Anything she says can and will be used against her in a court of law. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, when I first read this issue, it was just okay for me. Not an outright dud, but definitely underwhelming. The second read-through did give me some more meat through subtext and a few cultural and lore Easter eggs, which I'll get into in a minute. But while my enjoyment of the issue did go up, it doesn't change the fact that this was still a bit of a letdown, at least in comparison to what we've been getting previously. Ultimately, this was a setup issue. The FBI agents make their case and arrest, Thor announces the Thunder War, and Maggot starts his tournament. All of these things are set up without any payoff in this issue. Things are starting to look real X-Men 97-ish around here with all this breakneck pacing. I love cliffhangers, but this one ended so abruptly that it just killed it for me. And I think part of the letdown is due to the fact that we've hopped around so much within these short 20 pages. We start off wrapping up the mission from issue 7, then we cut to Storm going to the FBI headquarters, we spend 2 whole pages on a tournament that doesn't even start in this issue, and then we start getting some juicy interrogation, all for it to end once Storm falls into the agent's trap. The end was not only abrupt, but in my opinion pretty predictable. I mean, it's the FBI. Did we really think they weren't gonna pin her to the wall? And if you disagree that we're going in an X-Men 97 direction right here, let's just be clear. At the end of issue 8, we've gone through alien agents hemming up Storm on obstruction charges, Maggot's Tournament of Power side quest, Storm gods who are part of a cosmic conflict within a cosmic conflict who were completely absent this issue, mind you, and all of this comes after Storm's death and resurrection, becoming the host of Eternity, and the X-Man Hunt tie-in issues. Murewa, I know you are cooking, but you don't have to throw every ingredient in the pot at once. It's okay to take advice from Bobby Valentino and slow down. I just want to get to know all these interesting and captivating characters who you are giving to us. I want to know more about the Storm Gods. I want to know more about the special FBI agents. But if they're all just gonna come and go within 2 issues, damn it, yeah man, I'ma get me some storytelling blue balls. Obviously, we will get answers for all of this at some point, but the wait between issues from month to month, in my opinion, is too long to give us so little in one issue. But with all that being said, this issue was far from a total loss. Opening the issue with Storm repairing Brazil's weather was as peak as one could possibly get. The art makes it look like an attack, but it's actually a healing move. It's the first time Storm's gone full elemental in a while, and it's done to repair damage wrought on by the other Thunder Gods. She's always on the side of life and balance. This was my favorite moment in the whole book. Well, that and the workout panels. We don't see enough of Haddad for me to have an opinion about him yet, but I do like how his power level is described. I mean, this is way past epic. It's straight up biblical, and I can't wait to see Haddad in action. Murewa also continues his trend of including lesser known Black Marvel characters. This time we've got Eden. aka Manifold, an aboriginal mutant who bends time and space by communicating with the universe. I see why he and Storm get along so well. This allows him to teleport, create portals, turn invisible, and even trap others inside pockets of space that they can't escape from. As usual, we've got some cultural Easter eggs to talk about, and this issues are all hair related. You know Morewa was gonna tackle that mane after she was forced to cut it last issue. I wouldn't have minded having more time with shorter hair, Storm. I love how it falls over her shoulders in panels like this right here. But I get why she broke out the extensions. Storm's relationship with her hair has been front and center all series long, giving us some of the best hair moments and looks ever. But sometimes you rock what you got, and sometimes you call in some backup. This time, Storm chose backup. In times of stress, the path of least resistance is often best. Plus, we got this look of looks out of it, so hating is a biological impossibility. Then there's Agent Fabii, whose name means the one who is strong or the one who endures in Yoruba. I'll take intentional ass character names for 500, Alex, but I'm more interested in that nitrogen he's puffing on. The smoking panels work on a surface level, looking very sinister, but I'm wondering if this is part of his setup as well. Is this an attempt to weaken her? Could it backfire and make her stronger? And what about that book he's reading, Cosmic Within, The End? Is that a sci-fi deep cut of some kind? All my science nerds, chime in the comments. This is the closest we've come to having a weak issue so far, and we're 8 issues in. 9 if you count that X-Manhunt issue where we had Eternal Storm versus the X-Men Part 2. So I'm still all in. And since our favorite cosmic piss goblin Eternity is returning next issue, we've at least got that to look forward to, plus more Eternal Storm. And I still can't wait. But what about you? What are your thoughts about this month's issue? Comment below and let me know. And then click on this video right here to get more Weather Witch goddessness in your life. And until next time, you have the right to keep simping.